Welcome aboard. I'm aboard a Formula 40 PC performance cruiser with twin Volvo IPS pod drive engines, and I'm doing a spare parts check, and I found this big brass or bronze seawater pump or raw water pump in one of the storage lockers. Notice it's brass, so it has not been painted. Volvo is either available in a green color, the color of money, or white, which is brighter and makes your engine room lighting better when you're down there checking on things. Wanted to point out the cap. This is the cap with 6 bolts, made in Sweden, so I bet it's metric. So find out what size these are, if they're 8, 9, or 10 millimeters, and write that number right here, so when the day comes that you need to put a wrench on it, you'll know what size wrench is required. Also, in the spare parts kit that comes in that white box, we do have a new gasket, so you can replace the new gasket. And the Volvo pumps also have a rubber O-ring. So you might have the rubber O-ring version, or you might have the cork or foam gasket version. Regardless, it comes with both types of sealing materials, the cork, foam, or the rubber gasket. Also comes with an impeller lubricant to help you slide the impeller into that hole. Remember, it's a concentric hole with a wedge or a cam, and that makes it eccentric, that bends the vanes to give it a self-priming function. This is the impeller that goes inside, and I want you to note that the impeller's grooved or splined, so that way it fits onto the shaft and it does not slip. And then these rubber vanes bend over, and that is what gives you the self-priming force to force water throughout all the various heat exchangers on the engine itself. So if this rubber wears out, here's a spare impeller that you can replace it with. So we've got an impeller, we've got either the rubber O-ring or the foam gasket, we've got the lubricant to get this to slide into this eccentric hole, and then of course it comes with a little owner's manual there. Other things to look at, we've got 2 hoses or 2 hose barbs, one here, one there. So you've got to figure out if one's an inlet or an outlet, or that doesn't really matter because the hoses are already on the engine. You just fit them up the way they are. Looking at the drive mechanism, this is a pulley. Different than an ordinary V-belt pulley that you might be familiar with. This is a serpentine pulley. So it's got these flat grooves and a serpentine belt goes on there. Let me back up and grab the serpentine belt. Here it is. So this is a serpentine belt from Volvo, made in the USA. That's great. But you can see the flat grooves. Not very well, but here you can see the flat grooves there that fit into the grooves here. So it's a serpentine belt. It's got better adhesion, it's got better traction than the traditional V-belts do. The other thing to look at is this hole. This hole is called a weep area or a tattletale. So if we've got a bearing failure on this side, the bearing is grease packed to prevent the bearing from overheating while the pulley turns the shaft all the way through. So if we've got grease leaking out of here, we're going to have a grease leak and a hot bearing, and then eventually a bearing failure. So that tattletale will let you know that the bearing is starting to fail if grease is dripping out. Also the other side, which is the water side, you can see in there where the rubber impeller is, this rubber impeller. So if we're leaking water out of here, that means that we have a water seal leak. And a water seal leak is different than what you may assume. The water only leaks out when the engine is turned off. When the engine is running, because this is a self-priming rubber impeller, it's sucking air. So if this is sucking air, you can have cavitation and damage the rubber vanes, and then you'll end up having to take the cover plate off the back and installing the replacement impeller, but that's only a band-aid to finish your vacation. To fix it properly, you'll have to replace this entire pump because the seal in here is bad or the seal in there is bad. And everybody says, well, why don't I just get the pump repaired? That is an option, but they generally come with a 30-day warranty. This is a brand new part, comes with a 1-year warranty. So that's your choice. I know it's an economical decision, but that's your choice. So I just wanted to show you the pump, the serpentine belt, the replacement impeller, either of the 2 gaskets, and the lubricant to help put the impeller in. If you've got another brand that does not come with this lubricant, the best lubricant that we found to use would be dishwashing liquid soap. Same thing that you use in your galley. Dishwashing soap is very slippery. When you start the engine up, bubbles will come out the back of the boat. Before I finish with that, that's a propulsion engine. Let me look at 2 other items here. This is a V-belt, and this V-belt goes to the Westerbeek Universal Diesel engine. And here's a Westerbeek impeller. Let me set the camera down just for a moment. Dig this guy out. And you can see it comes with a couple of extra plate screws. That's the same plate that would go on the back of here. And you think, if I drop these in the bilge, I'll just get a magnet and pick them up. They're stainless steel. It won't work. Also looking at this, and I'm glad we're checking this inventory, this is not a brand new impeller. This is what's called a working takeout. So somebody voluntarily replaced this and put the new one in and put the old one back in this box, leading us to believe that we've got brand new spare part inventory when in fact we do not. We've got used spare part inventory. So that's used, and this O-ring is not shiny black, so it's used also. So I'll recommend the owner buy another one of these impeller kits. So we'll have a brand new Westerbeek impeller kit on the boat, and we do have a brand new pump for the Volvo, and we do have a brand new impeller kit for the Volvo. So when you're putting together your spare part kit aboard your boat, don't just look at the box. Open everything up, make sure it's in there, and make sure it is new and functional. This case, that might be functional, but it's not brand new. If you have any questions about spare parts, cooling systems, raw water pumps, heat exchangers, exhaust elbows, ask Captain Chris.